Hello, lovelies. Cory here. Welcome back to Wilder Woman. Today's video is a video response to Kelly Bear's top 5 decks you can't live without. Now, I'm doing this in 2 parts, kind of cheating a little bit. We're doing tarot decks today in this video, and then in the next video, we're doing oracle decks. And that's mostly because I couldn't narrow it down to 5 or less tarot decks. Y'all, I actually have a 6th deck here. I'm cheating in more ways than one. I understand that. But you know what? This is my damn video, so we're going to do it my way. Kelly Bear, please don't be upset with me. So this is a question that Kelly Bear posed to the community a while back, like over 3 years ago now. And about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago. This was on July 29th, I believe. I'll put it in the description box below, that she recorded her updated response to this question. And that has kind of prompted a, just a snowball of everybody going, oh, shoot, yeah, I should probably do an update. What, how do I feel now 3 years later? So we're gonna kick right into it. And I had a hard time with this, you guys. I had such a hard time with this when I sat down to select, and I didn't post this on YouTube, 3 years ago. This was on Instagram. I don't even know if the post is still up anymore. I had a much, much, much smaller collection. I think I really just had maybe 10 or so tarot decks to draw from at the time in 2019. I don't know how many tarot decks specifically I have, but I know Tarot and Oracle combined, I have over 230 decks in this house. And I've backed and pre-ordered more, so this was a hard selection for me this year. We'll just leave it at that. But we're going to dive right into it. First deck, I have 2 copies of this deck. This is how much I love this deck, and it's because it is my new ride or die. I have been reading with it for years. If I, am kind of torn as to what deck I should use, I go to this one. I travel with this deck. That's why I bought 2 copies. I have the full-size version and a tin travel smaller version. And that, y'all, if you've had a reading from me, you've probably seen this deck, is the Morgan-Greer Tarot. Guys, I love this so much. So, full-size version, travel version, you can see how beat up this tin is from travel. This deck has been with me to multiple states. It's been with me to Idaho. It's been with me to Nevada. It's been with me to Hawaii. Where I go, this deck goes. So I couldn't not include it if I'm doing a top 5. That's just what we're rolling with. And for any of you that have, if you've never seen the imagery of this deck, it's Rider-Waite-Smith based, very vibrant colors being used. I love the imagery. This deck spoke to me more than the traditional Rider-Waite, and that's when I knew, like, I had to have this deck. I think the first time I saw it was probably around 2016, maybe even 2015, on Ethony's YouTube channel. And y'all, it was on my wish list for like 2 years, maybe even a little bit longer than that, before I just pulled the trigger and I bought the tin version. And I want to say I had the tin copy for like 6 months before I was like, yeah, I need the full size copy too, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's got a real 70s vibe for me, and I love it. Cannot get enough of this deck. Like I said, this has become my new ride or die. Before that, I had another ride or die deck. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you know what that is. And that's the bonus 6th deck that I'll be talking about. The next deck, number 2, is the Spirit Keepers Tarot. I pulled out the 1st edition just because it's the one I have with me right now. I have the Vitruvian edition on my working altar because I'm about to start the 22 weeks workbook that comes with it, and there's some intense stuff in there, but you know what? I feel like for my practice, I kind of need to go through this 22-week exercise. This Spirit Keepers Tarot, y'all, this is such a beautiful deck. Benebell Wen did such an amazing, amazing job with this deck, and I felt torn showing it because it is out of print right now, both the 1st and 2nd editions. But you know what? This is about my top 5. The house is burning. I can only grab 5 decks. These are the ones I'm grabbing. It is what it is. So this deck, watching Benebell go through the exercise of drawing these, you know, doing what I'm doing now, working my way through the book of maps, using holistic tarot. I'm also going through the exercise of, and I'm staring at the book right now, which is why I'm looking up, but going through holistic tarot in a more class-like textbook research approach. And when I, you know, stop and go through a chapter in that book, I use this deck specifically. This is, I treat the 1st edition as my personal copy. This is the deck that I really only do personal readings for me. If at some point I decide to do readings with the Spirit Keepers Tarot, I plan on using the Vitruvian edition. And that's the way it is. I have 2 copies for a reason, y'all. And there are some slight variations between the 2, but this one, it's the 1st one. It has my heart. It's even to the point where if the house is burning and I really can only have time to grab 1 deck, this is actually the deck that I'm grabbing. The others, I will do my best to replace, you know, whatever have you. This deck is not leaving my person. This is where if the house burns down, I will freaking sob because of the loss of this particular deck. So I had to include it. It is my absolute 100% passionate top 5. Now the next one. Oh, you guys, I love this deck so much. I spent pretty much all of last year reading with this deck, off and on. There were times where I would switch to other decks intermittently, but especially for personal readings, I had this deck out. It was all I was reading with, and that is Ethony's Bad Bitches Tarot. It is so beautiful, but so it's very minimalistic, which is interesting to me because I'm very much a maximalist. I mean, if you look at that Spirit Keepers Tarot, there are so many details that every time I read with that deck, I find something new inside of it. This deck, I love this one as well, but you'll see what I mean. Just looking at the images, it's very just minimalistic, and boom, right there. You get the image of the figure, you see what's going on, and this is more fashion-centered, which I really like, because there's not another deck like this out there. And through her clothes and her poses and just the attitude that comes with the figure shown, you get the impact and the feel and the message behind the card without any, you know, frills, no bells and whistles, no, you know, additional symbolism thrown in just, you know, for the sake of throwing in the symbolism, right? Oh, and that Knight of Swords. Look at how badass she is. The, you know, that little gossipy energy right there. It's just, you get that impact just in the figure themselves. And I love that. So this one, this is another one that I'm like, I cannot give this up. As much time as I've invested in reading with this and getting to know this deck, it's like a best friend now. And I can't leave her behind. If this deck is like a spiritual mentor, this one's that girlfriend in your corner that when you've got an issue, you go to and you ask for advice. So very two different readings with each of these decks, but equally as potent, I feel. You know, it just depends on what kind of question you're asking and what you're going for. So the fourth deck, and this one captures my heart as well. I kind of feel like also last year, if I wasn't reading with the Bad Bitches Tarot, I was reading with this deck. They were like just 2 decks of 2018, really. And that is this amazing, freaking stunning Terra Fauna by Devin Strickler. The artist for this deck is Brittany Burkhardt. These ladies poured so much of their heart and soul into this deck. It is strictly an animal deck, and it is so perfect. The shells all have otters, and the shells are cups. Feathers are swords. We've got the owls here. And there's so much emoting from each of these animals that sometimes it's easy to forget that this is an animal deck, because there's so much there to pull from that you get the experiences of what's going on inside each of these cards without obviously the, oh my God. I didn't expect that card to show up, and with what's happening right now, I will put a disclaimer in the description box below to warn you that that card's coming up. Okay. But if you happen, I think this one's out of print too, you guys, and I don't know if there are any more copies in the shop. If there are, I will link them down below. If you need a really solid animal deck, I mean, honestly, I have, the fifth deck is an animal one as well, but these two have very different vibes. There are also 2 bonus cards in this deck. Okay, this isn't a traditional 78 card deck. It's an 80 card tarot deck. And the Wild is actually the extra card that Brittany created. And you can kind of see why it's needed. And I'm going to share with you the card that Devin created, which has a very, very special place in my heart. Just because it reminds me of my mom. If I can find it, that is. Here it is. It is the mindfulness card. Reminds me of my mother and my sister-in-law, both who have passed. And so it's a very powerful card for me. And I absolutely adore it. So, you know, for personal reasons as well, Devin is, she has my heart. we'll leave it at that. There are very few people who, you know, in this world I meet and just instantly feel like they're family, and they, you know, their actions have proved that feeling correct time and time and again. And that's one of those people is Devin. She is my sister. I would do anything for that woman and her family. And for, even if this weren't as stunning of a deck as it is, for that reason alone, I have to have this deck with me, you know, period. But it is so freaking amazing and just beautiful to work with. I mean, the rocks are pentacles, by the way. So this is the Queen of Pentacles. Just freaking stunning. Brittany, you did an amazing job bringing Devin's ideas to life. Can I just say, girl, you are an artist. And the torches are wands. So just love, love, love this deck so much. And again, if it is available, I'll link it below. 5th deck. Again, told you there were 2 animal decks. And we have the Brady Tarot. I did a walkthrough of this on my channel, so I'm not going to bore you guys with going through too many of these cards. Here's the back. But this deck, you guys, seeing it on Kickstarter, seeing it created, this is the 10 of Swords. We have the finality. So what happened with this deck? The lovely and amazing creator, Rachel Pollack, and this is also a 79 hand-colored deck. So these were lino cuts that she created over 18 months between 2017 and 2018. So we saw the black and white cuts being made, you know, these die cuts, and then they were stamped and then colored in afterwards. This process, and look at that. This process was just freaking amazing to witness. And I just, look at that Wheel of Fortune card. There's just so much about this deck that is intense, beautiful. There are stories. There was so much thought put into the creation of this deck, which is part of the reasons why it took so long. And it's just, y'all, it's magnificent. It's a beautiful deck. And I love it. I love it. It's easy to work with. This is another one of those decks, though, that feels very private. We've got another tower that's really intense and emotive. I'll let you guys look it up if you'd like to. But I mean, this also is a very personal deck. I've not done any public readings with this. I don't know if I will. Doesn't feel like it. But for right now, this is another one that's like, this is for me. So I've got 3 decks here that love using for public readings, client readings, and personal readings. But then there are 2 that, y'all, I just have to, they have to stay with me and be just for me. And I'm okay with that. Now, the 6th deck, which is kind of a bonus one, kind of cheating with this, but this was my first Ride or Die deck, and that is the Shadowscaptes Tarot. And this one will always, always, always have a special place in my heart because I also watched Stephanie go through the process of creating this tarot deck on her website. This was back in, Lord, when did she start this deck? And I don't even remember when this was originally published. 2008? 2007? My goodness. It's been so long, y'all. I don't even remember. I don't remember. No, it was later than that. So first printing was 2010, and I got the deck during its first printing. I used it so much that it started to fall apart. It started to fray. The edges became really like torn. And I really liked that, you know, used feel. And I was thinking of retiring it and setting it aside and buying another deck to use, but still keeping that one, when I had left it out on the coffee table and the dog ate part of it. I was like, damn it. So what I ended up doing was throwing away all of the cards that were chewed up. The remaining cards I use in a ritual setting. So I'll use those cards for guided meditations. I'll use them in ritual. I'll use them for manifestation purposes. I've used them every which way. And then just pulled the trigger in buying another deck. This was, when did I pick this up? 2016? What printing was this? Yeah, 10th printing, 2016. Just bought the deck only version because I already had the guidebook from the first printing. So just bought the deck just to replace it so that I could read with it again if I wanted to. So, you know, scooping up as many decks as possible. This one was number 6 on my list, to be fair. So that was it. These are my Ride or Die Tarot decks. These are the top ones as of this moment, the end of August 2019. I'm sure this will all change next year and the year after that. However, you know, like I said, all of a sudden the house is on fire, you know, at some point. Or I, you know, have to pick up and leave and put all of the decks in storage and only have 5 to take with me. These are the ones that are coming with me. Okay, 6. I'll throw this one in my purse. Won't take up too much room. All right, guys, that's it. Go ahead and check out the next video, which is going to be Oracle decks. I hope that you enjoyed it. If I've not checked out your video and you end up doing a response to Kelly Bear's question, let me know. Leave a link to your channel in the comments below so I can go check it out. All right, y'all. I hope that you are having a fabulous, fabulous Monday wherever you are. I cannot wait to see you in the next video. And until then, blessed be.